Trevor Carey Show on the Valley's Power Talk.
Accountability in the criminal justice system. Well, that's been a big topic for the last few years. He's worked with the Colorado State Courts and Probation, Colorado Department of Labor, also with the U.S. Secretary of Transportation. I would say that he knows government. He's the executive director of the American Bail Coalition. I'd like to welcome to the show Jeff Clayton. Jeff, happy Friday. Happy Thursday to you.
Well, it's almost Friday, and I worked for the government for too long. I almost forgot everything I knew.
Well, it's a secure job, I guess, government work is, but kind of, I would think, a little bit maddening at times, and maybe that's why you're out doing your own thing. Well, listen, Jeff, can you explain to us, and this is a question that I have, what kind of things, before we get into like Prop 25 and what they still want to continue, but what influences a judge's decision on bail? What are the factors that he reviews before deciding?
Sure. I mean, you look to the Constitution of California, which requires, consideration of public safety, criminal history, the charges, and then you look at, just general factors related to risk to the public and probability of appearance is, kind of the most important part. But those are kind of laid out in the Constitution.
Now, what I hear about what seems to be unfair, that I hear from people that are claiming that, we need a more sensible system, which we probably do, but low income await trial in jail, and if you have money, you get out before the trial. Is that really the root of the problem here? Is that what people are upset about?
Well, that happens to be the case when we talk about these bail schedules in California, and that's what the California Supreme Court was talking about in this Humphrey case, that, you got to have prompt hearings from these schedules because poor people can slip through the cracks. And what they told the California, legislature to do was have better procedures to make sure you're in there for other reasons than you're poor. In other words, make a prosecutor put up a little bit of proof as time goes on that this person really needs to be in jail. So, of course, the California legislature, is going the other way and going back to the COVID emergency policies and going to make that the new bail system in California.
It's I think most of the states said we did not want no cash bail. Prop 25 defeated last November, 55.4% of the state opposing it. And Jeff, that kind of scares me that almost half of the state is like, sure, we don't need to have bail. Describe the type of crimes that you could actually get away with and then be back out that same day, I guess, right?
Yeah, and the California voters basically rejected the no money bail scheme last time. Different this time, but I think the California voters are sniffing this out. They want to keep the constitutional right to bail. One of the police chiefs said during the no money bail system, a suspect in Alameda County got out 7 times on the same day for various crimes.
You're kidding.
And that tells you all you need to know. Former Assemblyman Rob Bonta, who is now the Attorney General, ran this bill and said, we are setting bail and basically by legislative edict. I mean, so in these crimes, there is no bail. The judges cannot deviate. And I think that's the biggest problem with the bill.
7 crimes in the same day, in and out? 7? I mean, you would think you would take at least an hour or two to go through the whole. Well, I guess that's less than 24 hours, but that's amazing.
Absolutely. When we saw this in New Mexico when a bait car was stolen and the one suspect got worried, the other one said, don't worry, we're going to get a release on our own recognizance, so let's just hang tight and we'll be out in an hour or so.
Now, I know a lot of companies fought that, what was it, the gig economy, where they tried to cut out and say you couldn't be a contractor, you had to be part of the company, is what California tried to do with this. Now, we know that they fought back hard. Uber and all those companies fought back. Do we got a lot of bail bond companies fighting back hard against this ideology?
Well, certainly under Proposition 25, and I guess, when, companies are able to get the voters to overturn the will of the California legislature, it's time to change the process. But, the voters have spoken, and we wish the legislature would at least convene some sort of a panel to figure out where we should go from here. I mean, the voters don't want an algorithm. They don't want the government to expand power to detention. They want to keep the right to bail. So let's figure something out. And we didn't do that. We ran a first-day bill to go back to what the voters just rejected. So it doesn't make any sense.
Well, where do you say we should go from here? What would be sensible? I know you say we need a sensible system. What is a sensible system?
Well, I think Assemblyman Cooper had it right, which was to reduce the bail schedule sizes in California. But I think the California Supreme Court laid it out right, is that we need to tighten up the procedures and make sure that people don't stay in jail solely because they can't afford it. The reality in California is that the people who stay in jail are largely serious offenders, and most of them belong to be there, and if they're not there, they belong to be under supervision of a licensed bail agent with arrest powers and or supervision by pretrial agencies as they await trial.
Give me a ballpark here. How much is collected in bail? Just ballpark California or America. I don't know if you have the figures at your fingertips, but if you can ballpark, how much money is actually in this business?
Well, hard to say overall. I think the estimates may be $10 billion in liability written, 10 to 15, depending on numbers. It's hard to estimate because there's smaller companies that are not written by insurance companies outside of California. So I'd estimate maybe 10 to 15 billion in liability. That premium roughly 10% of that, and then of course forfeitures, and you got to pay your taxes and all that sort of stuff. So we're a lot smaller than other correctional industries, though. I would say, like the ankle monitor guys and the private prisons and all that sort of thing.
My guest, Jeff Clayton, Executive Director of the American Bail Coalition. Jeff, we think about this, and I've had a couple DAs in recently talking about the DA down in Los Angeles, Gascon, with victims having no more rights anymore. And you think about somebody that commits a crime that a lot of us would say that's a scary crime. And no, if that was committed upon you, would you want to know that the person that did it is right back out? I mean, what about victims' rights to have these individuals stay in? Because they can be so upset and so off their rocker the minute they get out, they come looking for you again.
That's why we have Marcy's Law. That's why it is law in California, is that we didn't want this, to happen. And, we got a credible opinion that George Gascon's, bail policy is unconstitutional because the victim has a right to be considered on bail. And to simply say that he's going to draw a line and say no bail in these cases, no bail in these cases, frustrates the process. It has to be individualized. He could reject it in every case, but he has to have the victim sit there and tell him a story, and he has to reject it. And I think that's been the problem with his policy.
So now in California, with our new mindset and what rejecting what voters wanted last November, is can a judge say, no, I am going to, this is too heinous of a crime, you are going to have bail, you're not going to get out, or will that be illegal in California?
That's going to be inevitable because judges are going to see situations where they don't want to follow the legislative edict. They think it's unconstitutional. And we learned that the Judicial Council can't say these are the bails during the pandemic, during an emergency. So we know based on that the legislature can't permanently set bail for judges. So they're on a collision course with the constitutional reality, and we think judicial discretion is going to win the day.
Good, yeah. California has been on a collision course with the Constitution for the last 463 days. You brought up that Judicial Council of California. I had our county sheriff in. I've had our county DA in, and what they did with that clogging up of the jail to prison pipeline was, they don't care about the safety of anybody out here. Jeff, let me ask you in closing, I appreciate your time there with the American Bail Coalition. Can you explain, and I've had a few people on about it, but how did President Trump, when he did his criminal justice reform, what did he actually do for the system? Well, I think, on our issue, he did, support strong policies that make sure that, one, that there's individualized consideration. And his Justice Department said that the priority is going to be due process. And the other administration wanted to say that, no, the priority is that everybody gets out for free. And so that was a measured approach. That was a reversal supported by, 13, attorney generals. So I think that, if there's one message that we can learn from everything, and as a judge said long ago, is that the swiftness of the punishment is the surest deterrent of crime. And if you look at the California system, like how quick are trials happening? The whole system has broken down. And so we need to get back to, speedy trials and convicting the guilty and, getting the innocent to move on. Yeah, and having some accountability with criminals as well. All these early release, I think it was 76,000 Newsom just let out. Well, and we're wondering why our crime is off the chart. I had that Oakland, the police chief in Oakland just going after that city council with the defunding. Crime is off the charts. Jeff, American Bail Coalition, if folks would like some more information on what you guys are doing to help the criminal justice system, where are you online there?
ambailcoalition.org, or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.
All right. Jeff Clayton, sir, thank you for keeping the good fight going right there. This is something that a lot of us are concerned about. Crime in California. We'll talk more about it coming up after 5 o'clock.